Hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. This week's a little bit different. I've gone into the vault and pulled out an old episode with my travel partner in crime, Laura Ferguson, for our previous podcast, Caftan Mondays. In this episode, we discuss our favorite road trips across America. Enjoy.
Well, today we're going to discuss our travel obsession, but streamline it to the good old America, the United States of America.
Absolutely. Kind of coming off the back of Thanksgiving, where Laura and I usually travel elsewhere. I stayed in New York City, upstate. Laura stayed in New Orleans. We were talking about all the travel that we've been doing nationally the last couple of years. We felt like we could use a little love here in America.
Celebratory America.
Absolutely. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about our favorites.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Kick it up.
Let's do it. Well, we should say, too, that we've had a lot of good adventures together.
Yes.
But certainly a lot of road trips and misadventures even apart.
Yes. Listen, if you end up where you planned on getting to, it was probably boring.
Well, we wanted to start talking with our recent jobs, which, of course, there's a lot. But
you just came back from a good trip.
I did. So for those who don't know, I actually have worked in travel for a long time. So I even used to work for Four Seasons. So I would travel extensively, but certainly across America. So I got some extra perks.
You're a little fancier than I am sometimes. I pack leggings for my trips sometimes.
You know me. I still like my pickup trucks and cowboy boots and the ranches, which brings
my favorite Carrie moment ever before she talks about her trip was we were in Nashville on a very fun vacation, and it was kind of fancy and kind of awesome. And then we were in a honky-tonk, and I just turned, and she was drinking a Coors Light and wearing a plaid shirt, and she just goes, "This is also very natural."
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with
I'm a little New York City, I'm a little Colorado, Alberta, and that's going to come out sometimes. A. And then also confused with the Cowboys in Colorado. I don't know. I'm a confused individual. I've grown up in too many places. That's okay.
Makes you worldly.
It does, I guess so, if cowboys and ranches are worldly. But why not? We're talking about America. So Colorado, our family, 4 generations in Colorado. I recently took off all of September, did some work, went to visit some friends, and I really drove throughout the whole state because all I keep on reading are things that make me jealous of my own state, where Colorado's booming and everybody's moving to Denver and all these glamorous mountain towns. I'm like, I want to go there, even though I always went there, but I felt like I had to go back. So I did. I went to Denver, which is completely changed. I think it's the second fastest growing city outside of Austin. Boulder, also booming. CU, go Buffs. Vail, Aspen. Did not make it to Telluride, even though I wanted to go stalk Oprah and Ralph Lauren.
Be nice.
Yep. I went all the way down south to the Great Sand Dunes, which was amazing, and then drove into New Mexico to Taos and Santa Fe, and really had a great time. I can't say enough about it. I mean, gorgeous ranches, lots of luxury ranches.
Is it woodsy or deserty out there?
Both. I mean, I would say the majority of the state's very woodsy, and you can have all these nice mountain towns. You can also gamble there in a few places, so you know. And
that's Arizona.
Also, lots of beer factories, so no shortage of that. Also, no shortage of handsome young gentlemen. Just going to put that out there.
Also an alluring factor.
I mean, it really is. And the food scene in Denver is booming. Obviously, New Mexico, too. I couldn't eat enough green chili. It's great food, great products, too, that you can ship home. People forget you buy, sheepskin and leathers and stuff. You can get that for a lot less expensive. But I highly recommend it. I recommend, if you haven't been out there, to do the 2 states together.
Yeah.
So you can have some luxury stays, but you can also go to great ranches or go off the beaten path.
It's funny. I haven't been to Wyoming and Colorado and that kind of area since I was a little kid, so I'm curious to see what it'd be like as an adult. Mm-hmm. Also, I have better boots now than I did then, so that would be really exciting. Where did you get your boots? You got those in New Mexico, right?
I did. So my friends own a place called Back at the Ranch, and they have their own boot factory, and it's multi-generational boot makers, and they are
Those are
awesome.
So good, though, because they're trendy without being something you'd find elsewhere.
100%. And they make, over-the-top boots, and they use, a lot of luxury goods. So there's, Hermes-style boots. It's kind of crazy. But I was into it. I was wearing...
Hermes.
I was wearing the boots. But it's funny you said Wyoming, because that whole belt there, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico have become like this hotbed for like, again, glamping, luxury ranches. A lot of people wanting these dude ranch experiences. They're getting a lot of influx from like trendy people from LA and New York and London going to live out their Wild West fantasies. I'm sure the ranch hands are having like a huge laugh at their expense. But
like city slickers?
Total city slickers. But I think it's a fantastic experience. And if you're in the U.S., flying to Denver is like super easy.
Yeah.
Just rent a car, not at the airport, take their new train downtown, pick up a car and just go for it.
Do they call the train, or does it have a name?
I don't know. I just call it the train.
I feel like there's always like the Silver Bullet or something like stupid. That would be the...
Well, it does take a really long time. Like apparently the train sometimes breaks down.
Speed
because it takes that long. I know.
It's funny, I have driven cross country so many times, and every time I go through like a different part of New Mexico, and it's one of those states that growing up in New York, I never even really, thought about.
Yeah.
And then naturally when you drive cross country, you go through it. So the first time I went through, we went to like the Very Large Array, which are like the big satellites from Contact. And it also was a whiteout, and I was like, I didn't think it snowed here. That was like totally blew my mind. And then another time I was in LA and we were going to a Cowboys game in Dallas and decided to drive. And we went through New Mexico and totally drove to this place called the Blue Swallow Motel because I had read about it and I thought it sounded cute. So we went there. And it was so funny because it took a lot longer than we thought, like every road trip always does. And so we called and we're like, we're running late. And the woman's like, honey, don't worry. We'll just put the keys under the mat. And we were like, where are we going? Like, I was leaving the keys under the mat.
It's actually nice
and it was
people.
The most amazing little town of all these like 1950s style motels that have all been like impeccably restored. Blue Swallow is so cute. But then this year when I drove from LA to New Orleans, I stopped actually. We went to spring training in Phoenix, and then I woke up my friend the next day and I was like, hey, it'd be fun. And she's like, what? I was like, let's go buy turquoise. And so we drove south to Tubec, which is like right on the border of Mexico and New Mexico. Because a friend of mine had told me about this jewelry shop there where you can get like amazing deals. And it's interesting because a lot of it is stuff that is like fresh from a reservation. So it's not like, it's not like sad pawn stories and sad, like, it wasn't stolen from anyone. It was like nice little like history lessons. People were well paid for their goods. But as a consumer, you get really good deals on really beautiful art pieces. You know?
I'm sure. Well, and for people listening, it's like, the art community in New Mexico is amazing.
Unbelievable.
And the turquoise jewelry used with the silver from locally is incredible, and they're definitely like collector's pieces.
Yeah, I got my squash blossom necklace there. It was worth the like 5-hour drive because it's amazing.
Well, I have to you'll laugh at this. So we have a mutual friend, another friend, Laura. So shout out to Stroop if you're listening, because I know you're going to.
So many Lauras.
We're going to make you listen. When I came back, I had like my boots on. Came back to New York City. I was wearing my cowboy boots still, and I had like my turquoise bracelets, and I saw Stroop, and she's like, wow, you really committed.
Sometimes I'll have like denim jeans on and a chambray shirt, my turquoise necklace, and I'm like, is it Ralph Lauren, or do I look like I'm still drunk from the 70s? Like, what is it? Let me know.
Well, there was a lot of people, Colorado and New Mexico, a lot of transplants, people that had left places like LA and New York, kind of sought another life, started businesses. It's interesting. I don't know. I would be so happy to go back. I would be so happy to have a patch of land up in the mountains somewhere. I would legit be there in a second.
That's how I feel sometimes when I go to places like Joshua Tree. I'm just like, why do I not spend more time here? Why do I not just like, I don't know. There's something about the desert that is just like awe-inspiring.
Well, you were always really good. We both, again, as we said in our last podcast, we both lived in LA for a number of years. Yeah, keep up, come on. But Laura was always really good at exploring everything, so you probably saw a lot more of California than I did.
I saw a lot of California. I'm also like a crazy person who just wakes up on a whim and is like, you know what? I've always wanted to go to Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of go because I feel like my dad used to always say, you only ride the bus once. You have no idea when someone's going to call your stop.
That's true.
I always have done whims, which, maybe are dangerous sometimes, but usually very fun.
But that's why you and I are we're both fans of road trips for that reason.
Totally. Because I think that road trips are just great because you never know where you're going to end up because it's never where you planned on going and you never get there when you thought you were going to get there. But I think that's what makes the journey fun. Yeah. And if you're not willing to like ooze sunshine and talk to everyone you meet, then you're missing out.
100%. Well, and that's the whole thing, and we won't go into the politics, even though we could talk about it all day. Part of the reason for this topic, too, other than our obsession with travel and other than the fact that we travel together a lot, is that, everybody's like talking about how different everybody is and how apart everybody is. But like, when's the last time you jumped in your car and just hit the road or hopped a train and stopped in a few places you haven't been before?
Totally. And it's funny, too, because I feel like you can meet like super conservatives in New Mexico and meet super liberals in Louisiana. You wouldn't think you'd find either in either place, but it's also one of those things too where you have to be respectful about like, where people come from. But I love talking to everyone.
Yeah.
And I also feel like everywhere looks like upstate New York. And it's funny because like you go to like Texas, you go to like Alabama, like all these places like North Carolina, and you're like, they're all beautiful, but they all kind of look like upstate New York, even parts of Texas. And so it's funny that you just have to like see how where we live actually looks exactly the same and is 100% different. The people living there are 100% different. But they make good pies everywhere. That's also something. That's why the leggings. I mean,
but that's why, I mean, same thing. It's like you got to stop in the small towns on the way to the big places too. That's why, I mean, people think we're crazy half the time for the road trips we do, but people enjoy talking to you whether you're alone or there's a couple of you, and they're willing to share like their tips too for their cities and towns.
As a lady of a specific age, let me tell you, stopping at a weird gas station or truck stop in the middle of the country, you're going to get more compliments in 27 seconds than you probably have in years. And like it's like all of a sudden you just feel great. Everyone thinks you're like the boldest person they've ever met. Like they're like, wow, like, you're so, and I'm like, I look like Cindy Crawford right now, obviously, even though I don't. Well, there's a reason why we're our voices, not pictures. It's not a speaky.
And people are so, I mean, people are friendly. They do want to help you. And like, I'm the first person to say that I love my New Yorkers and they're just blunt. They're not rude. They're going to help you too. But the abundance of manners out there is like heartwarming a little bit. I remember when my friend moved to Minneapolis recently, 20 years in New York City. Moved to Minneapolis.
Another Laura.
Oh my God.
I know, it's ridiculous.
What's
not
going on?
Any of them by
okay, sorry. We're too late for an alias. You know who you are. So she went to Minneapolis and she had a Facebook post update, which was so funny, where she was saying somebody from the grocery store just walked groceries out to my car. Am I going to be murdered or is this person trying to help me? She's like, I think New York City ruined me. I just get back out there, talk to people. Yeah. I tell a lot of my friends in Europe too about all the places to go and they're surprised. Like when I tell them New Orleans is fun and Miami is fun, and it's like such a shock to them. I'm just surprised by that.
That brings me to our next thing. Yeah. What's your favorite places? I'm going to give you a quiz.
Oh my God. Well, the whole thing too is that this will help us with this because you kind of gave a bit of direction with this. You wanted us to pick favorite places based on something that was either beautiful or historical.
Yes.
Something that was fun. And because the men are dreamy.
Yeah. Okay. In real life or just in theory.
Okay, I like this. The theory also goes a long way. That's fine. Because you can have the dream. You can have the dream.
You can start with whichever one of these three.
I'm going to start with the men because I've had quite a lot of wine and I'm going to be shallow.
I say men. I've had a lot of men. Let's start with the men.
Oh my God, let's turn into another show. Yeah, so I would say men. I love being in Miami because I feel like, well, Miami's super fun too, but
maybe this is why we never steal each other's boyfriends.
This could be. There's a, listen, it's like the half Latino in me. I get into Miami. The last time I was there, I told you, I got stopped on the street twice and asked if I spoke English, which is hilarious if you know me. And I don't know, just met all kinds of great people from like Cuba and Central America and South America.
Great, men, handsome.
Oh, God, so good.
I dated a Cuban guy from Miami when I was in college.
Did you?
He's a swimmer. Very handsome.
Well, I mean, so for me, that would be my pick for dreamy men.
Where is my dreamiest men? I mean, I think it's funny.
I think I know where you're going to go.
Yeah, I totally do. Because I feel like growing up in the Big Apple, I think that my dream man is like the like Midwestern like giant farm dude who's not growing a beard ironically or hipstery. Like if someone looks like they could maybe cut wood and also wouldn't mind doing that from time to time, that's also attractive. Men who are not afraid to help out. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like this dreamy, burly, I don't know.
So Midwest, Oregon, North. Montana.
Stuff. Yeah. I've never been to Montana. There are like 6 states left. Montana's one of them. And I'm like, for some reason, probably the future Mr. Ferguson lives there. And I just haven't gone yet.
Well, I'll tell you something. Montana.
Or maybe he's in Denver and he has season tickets to something. I don't know.
Well, that's absolutely true because a lot of them are there for business.
Good chance.
Women too, so both ways. But I will say that I think
everyone.
Yeah, we're open to everyone. Everybody's welcome. Montana, I find to be a really beautiful state, and like obviously there's great, again, fantastic hotels and stuff there. Brush Creek Ranch in Wyoming is like unbelievably amazing, and then Paws Up in Montana is great. But Montana as a state is really gorgeous, and I drove through those states every year of my life from like Alberta to Colorado. But you got to go in the summer, because that's when all the rodeos happen.
It's a good...
Like Cheyenne.
Oh, I can wear my turquoise there and my denim.
Yeah, oh, there. Then you're set.
So many sets of cowboy boots. I bought my first pair of cowboy boots in Nashville, and my uncle, who lived in Wyoming, which, by the way, he was born and bred in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, my God.
Or actually Queens, New York. And moved to Wyoming on a whim to, like, be a cattle rancher, I don't know, like after college or something. He made fun of me one time. He's like, where'd you get your cowboy boots? And I was like, Nashville. Like, whatever. He's like, those are not real cowboy boots. And like, it was like this whole big thing. Now I'm like, won't let him know about the collection of fry. There's no wrangling happening with those.
Well, you know, I mean, I actually just read a great article.
Dreams.
That's true. I read a great article actually from David Letterman recently because he lives most of the time in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
He still has a place here upstate, I think, but he's there most of the time.
Where's your favorite place for fun?
Oh, God. Okay, this one was tough for me because I just have so many fond memories of so many places. Obviously, you and I had a ball together in Nashville.
I mean, we could have had, like, we could have stayed there for a week or 11 weeks and still had, like, a great time.
Oh, my God. I mean, people thought that we were rock stars when we were in Ryman Theater, and we went to the gift shop after in our sunglasses and our big hair and across from CMT, and
we
people
also
thought we
were
were
wearing capes. You're leaving out that we had capes on. And not, like, superhero capes, like... No, it was like this vintage corduroy with like a plaid flannel lining, and Carrie had on this really amazing Draper James cape that was like fresh from the season.
Oh, that's right. Oh, wait, we got to work in our Reese Witherspoon notices. God. We said we got to work that in like the Draper James. She can sponsor us.
I think one day we're going to be friends at Reese.
Yeah, I think so too.
Her real name's Laura.
Oh,
we have the same birthday.
Oh my God. Well, it's destined.
I went to Mexico on my birthday. She went to Mexico on her birthday. How do we not hang out together? I didn't know.
Reese, we will give up caftans for your capes.
I won't give up caftans. But I'll hang out with you and be your weird friend wearing caftans. How about that? We can make a compromise.
She just launched a new media business
awesome.
too.
It kind of makes me sad because we're the same age and she's got a lot of accomplishments and really a string of hot husbands.
Damn it. Okay.
Damn it.
What
am I doing?
We'll be friends with her. We'll be friends with her. But
have I mentioned the Poochie caftan? She doesn't have one of those.
Okay, wait. Back to the fun. So Nashville got sidetracked just because I have good memories there with you. But... I mean, I always have a lot of fun, and again, we're going south, but I mean, Austin's always a good time. Yeah. I really like live music. The food scene's great. The people are nice. I already used up Miami for the men thing, so I can't use that too.
Listen, what if you just had a 3 for 3 and it was all like, Miami!
Miami's so equal, like, it makes me angry, and I love it. It's like, I can't win. And I try to avoid South Beach now every time I go back.
It's funny, though, too. I know this is on your short list.
Yep.
But... Chicago is a great town that you need to go to as an adult.
Yes, actually, I want to talk to you about that because it's somewhere that I haven't been to in a long time, and you've been a lot. And it just seems like...
But I have nothing really to say about it, which is funny because I love going there, and if anyone's like, hey, you want to go to Chicago? I'm like, I'm already packed. Let's go. And I've never gone and not had, like, the greatest weekend ever.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I've never done the same thing twice, except for maybe go to a game because you have to go to Wrigley Field because that's, like, the holy grail of America. But... it's just good people. I might go back to my obsession with Midwestern men, too. But it's just like a good time, always. I have a lot of friends that live on the north side now, which I make fun of them because we would have punched them in the face 10 years ago that they lived on the north side. But, like, you know, it's just like, it's a weird Jada McPherson song, but whatever. It's such a good town. And, like, you could do sportsy things. You could do artsy things. You could do outdoorsy things. You could do preppy murderer things. Like, there's so many things you could do.
Whoa, what?
There's a lot of people wearing, like, fleece vests. And,
my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad, like...
Well, there's always, like, that rivalry between, like, New York and Chicago, but I know a lot of people that have left New York and moved to Chicago, too, because they have, like, a nice lifestyle there.
You can also buy a house.
Yeah, you can buy a house.
You can afford real estate.
Well, Chicago, I would love to go back. Maybe that's our next kind of
that should be our
get in trouble jaunt. I don't know.
Wait, you're skirting the issue on the funnest.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Also, can I have some more Pinot Noir?
Yeah. Let's top it up. This is the most important, people. We gotta keep...
That sound effect's real.
Yeah, ooh.
Just Foleyed that.
That was... Yeah, by the way, did I mention that Laura's a producer? Very nice, very nice. Okay, so what did I say? I mean, Nashville is up there, Austin. Ooh. I mean... Even though it wasn't my favorite to live in, I do like going to LA. I'm gonna go Austin. I'm just gonna stick with that.
Stick with it.
And I mean Austin, not at the South by Southwest time. None of that stuff.
Like the real
stuff. Like go grab some like delicious food.
Oh, go to that.
Hang out, kayak the river.
What's that place?
See lots of live bands.
Oh, the last time I was there, I stayed at the South Congress Hotel, which was like delicious. And it's right in South Congress. It was the cutest little mid-century modern new hotel. It's where all the food trucks used to be, which I was angry when I found that out, but at the same time I was like, the food trucks are still everywhere, so you're not missing them. But now it's a really cute little hotel that's just like, I checked in and I was like, they weren't really open yet. I was like, can I stay here for a while? And they're like, sure. Gave me a great rate. It was beautiful, like, setup and stuff like that. I sent my neighbor who owns that gallery shop in New Orleans. She went and she's like, this is the greatest hotel I've ever stayed.
Oh.
So South Congress Hotel. It's on South Congress.
I think last time I was there, I went with the Four Seasons. So I stayed the Four Seasons there, which is right on the river, which is very nice. They're opening a new Fairmont there soon too, which should be really nice.
Yeah.
But there's also some great Airbnb houses.
Yeah.
Because I do love
Airbnb is really good. I did a job in Austin one time, and I rented a little bungalow over by the Dead Nun area, which I didn't know that was called the Dead Nun area, but that's why all those streets off South Congress all have lady names. I guess there was a convent there that burned down, and each street was named after one of the nuns that died, which I was like, that's a really sweet way to remember people. And
I like that too. Oh, I'm going to drop this in there too because I have all these backups. I'm clearly not very good at this because you might even be talking about this. But I think one of the most fun places is clearly your new home, which is New Orleans.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take New York and New Orleans out of it because that's our home.
They're great, and we live there.
Yeah.
Back to Austin, though. You got to go to Perla's and get oysters and sit out on the patio and drink a bottle of rosé.
I feel like I've been there. Where is it?
It's on South. I mean, I'm like a crazy South Congress person. And I don't mean to be because.
But it's nice over there.
Really
I like it.
JM Dry Goods to go shopping, feathers.
Last time I was there, I saw the Young Sisters from Nashville. I was mainly excited about that. Coming back on, was it CMT, TNT, something?
Yeah.
I like that show. A little Connie Britton.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoy Austin. It's really fun. That's
Nashville's up there too for me.
How about you?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I thought New Orleans was really fun, so I just packed up and moved there one day. TBD on whether or not that's working out. It's fun. I'm eating and drinking way too much.
It's fantastic.
I know a lot
city.
about
So
various
great.
forms of music.
That's fantastic.
So Dolly
city.
Parton last night. No, just in case you're checking timestamps.
You just make me jealous on that. Oh God.
What is the funnest place? I mean, I already said Chicago. I feel like I don't stop talking. I'm trying to think of something random that I've been to. Oh. Claire called before. Claire and I one time I drove Claire's car from LA to New York for her because I wasn't working, and I was like, that sounds like a great time. I'll totally drive your car. And she's like, that's a week. And I was like, might be longer. Not committing to a time. So I was driving from New Orleans and I was meeting her in Louisville. So picked her up in Louisville, which she grew up in, which she hadn't been back since she was like 6 years old or something like that. And then from Louisville, we were driving to New York. We needed to stop in between, and we stopped at Clarksburg, West Virginia.
Okay.
Holy cow, it was like the funnest night. We were all joking around. We're like, this should have been like a screenplay because we went out to this dinner. Meanwhile, we're both in like leggings and sweaters and sneakers because it's cold out. It's like November. And we go to this restaurant that we found on Yelp that said like it had good steaks. And we're like, I mean, we're in West Virginia. Like, what are the... First way we walk in, it's like white linen tablecloths. It was the most cutest, like, oh, I hate double superlatives. It's, it was like the cutest, like, little place ever. And the woman was from New York and had moved there. She's like, I just wanted to change. But it was like... literally the best petite filet you'd had in I don't know how long. So Claire and I were laughing that we look like dirtbags, and we're like, oh my God, we thought we were walking into like a little divey place. So then we were going home. We were staying at like a Best Western because it was luxurious. And we passed this little like road shack of a bar and went in and literally walked in, and it was packed. It was like a Tuesday night, and there was easily like 150 people in there. And I'm like, where are we? Is this the town from Footloose? Like, what's going on? There's so many people. Turned out it was all oil riggers who had the next day off. It was hilarious. And so we were joking around. We're like, who knew Clarksburg, West Virginia, was the funnest town in all the lands? We were out until 4 a.m. We got some drunk girl a taxi home. We were like, help it. I could have run for mayor after this. We were like, Claire maybe made out with the hottest guy in like Clarksburg High School. Alumni, not current. Yeah, super fun.
But those are sometimes like the fun little misadventures. Like what was it? I think I was on a road trip this spring and I spent a night in, where was I? Richmond, but I didn't realize it was NASCAR. I'm like, why are there so many people here? And like literally everywhere I went, there was like cardboard cutouts of like racers, and people were so excited about them. I didn't know who anybody was. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know anything about racing.
One day we'll do an episode just about all the weird towns I went to when I worked for a little sports show called NASCAR.
But that's why the beauty is like if you have a week and you're not going to go overseas or anything, like jump in the car. It's very easy to go on like TripAdvisor or something.
Oh yeah.
As you go, hotel hotel tonight,
Yeah.
like Airbnb or whatever you want to do, hotels.com, and go for it. I mean,
TripAdvisor is good too. Like you always have to remember who's writing on it. Like I review a lot of things on TripAdvisor, but then I also have to remind myself that so's my mom. So you kind of have to take it like with a grain of salt, like whose review you're reading. At the same time, that's the same thing you're taking if you're reviewing something or if you're reading a review on Jet Setter. It's like
I always go though for like the best sometimes the road maps because little side note example, it's like there's some places you don't want to be on long stretches when it gets dark. So when it looks
like the opening of Criminal Minds and you're like, ooh.
Okay, so New Mexico is like that.
Yeah.
And recently I saw Tom Ford's gorgeous new movie, Nocturnal Animals, and it's very like disturbing as far as like part of the storyline, and it looked like New Mexico. I guess they shot in California, which is disappointing because Tom Ford has that $70 million estate outside of Santa Fe.
I asked him if he wanted to invite us over.
I mean,
I'm working on him. I'm working on Reese. I'm very busy. I don't know what you're bringing to the table.
I'm like, well, I don't know, Canadians. What do you want to do?
Is Justin Trudeau coming over?
We got the Ryans. I got to work on like Ryan Reynolds. He lives nearby. I don't know.
The Ryans.
Gosling. Oh my god. We got a lot of work to do. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Okay, wait.
It happens.
Number 3, historical or beautiful. That's a tough one.
Well, you know what? I have to say, so last year, Barbara and I made a little road trip.
Okay.
My mother's Barbara. You might hear about it from time to time. So I was living in Los Angeles, California, and we were talking about states, and I kind of knew that I was going to leave California. So I was like, oh, where do I want to go? My mom says, I've never been to Oregon. And I said, well, I'd love to go to Oregon. I'm going to drive there. So she didn't want to drive from LA there. But I picked her up in Sacramento, drove up the coast of Northern California, up through Oregon. So lovely. But it was funny. So it's so beautiful. It's like the mountains, everything, the cliffs over the ocean, like everything is just like stunningly beautiful. But on the way back down, I was by myself and I went through like the redwood forest and stuff. I couldn't go through Sequoia because of the fires, but I went along the coast and I was blown away by like, this is real and this is like attainable and you can drive through it and you can walk through it and you can hike through it and you do all these things. And then also you think about like, you get a little further down and then there's Big Sur, which like, it's so remote and so breathtaking and so like
it's stunning
pure.
over there. It's stunning over there.
Yeah.
Did you have an itinerary? Did you have one?
I did.
Okay. For those who don't know, Laura has the most epic itineraries ever. Every time she sends one to me, I save it. I occasionally post them on my travel blog. I have labandtourtravel.com.
Sometimes you got to plan for fun.
Sometimes you got to have options. You got to have options. Well, I like that. I always say if you don't have anything, it's more stressful. You might as well put stuff in it.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all.
Right. And you just pick and choose.
You pick and choose.
Yeah.
Though I get made fun of a lot for my itineraries. Not really made fun of, but like, yeah, no, made fun of is the right word. Because most people, like, will go on a trip and they'll be like my friend Fun Ellen, one time she and I were going on a trip and she was mad I hadn't made one. She goes, why aren't you making an itinerary? I go, I'm a little busy. I have a job and like whatever. She's like, well, I mean, we're going on a trip. I just don't know itinerary. So I made like an over the top one on purpose. We were going through Europe for like 3 weeks and I made like literally movies to watch per country, drinks to drink and certain. And she's okay, this is very over the top. And I go, you asked for one. So I made it. It was like 27 pages long. But Peggy and I, one time, we were in Ireland for like 6 weeks, and I made one, and it was funny because we were walking home one night, and we realized we were in Belfast, and we realized some guy was walking with us, and I was like, are you following us or walking with us? I'm unsure. He goes, I'm totally walking you home because you should not be walking home at 4 o'clock in the morning in Belfast. He's like, are you kidding me? And I was like, I did watch The Fall. So we were like joking around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, totally. So we started chatting, and it was really lovely, and who doesn't like an Irish accent? Northern Irish, also adorable. So anyway, so we're chatting and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, of course, he tells us how he's an extra in the Night's Watch for Game of Thrones.
Oh my God.
And I said, hold on a second, I gotta check something off a list. And Peggy gets mortified. And he goes, what? And I said, and I took out our itinerary for the trip. And on our first night, things to do, it said, meet bearded extras from Game of Thrones who are in the Night Watch.
I think I remember you telling me that.
And when I crossed it off, he's like, oh my God, that's really written there. And I was like, yeah, you got to be prepared for these things. Like, they don't just happen. You got to will them.
But that's what the fun thing, too, is in America. It's like you grow up, it's like, what is it, those vacation movies or whatever. Yeah. It's like, you've got to see some of, like, the kitschy stuff for fun, and you got to stop.
Oh, Roadside America is so good.
Yeah, it is.
They have an app for it, and you can do it on their website. And you can literally find, like, the largest ball of twine. There's a guy in Houston who makes giant, like, 3-story busts of every president. Like, it's kind of just amazing. Like, you can find so much weird stuff on there, and it's like, it's a road trip Bible.
Oh, it's like super fun. I mean, I was looking at freaking Butter Queens in Minneapolis. Like, what was that? I mean, I don't know, but I'm into it. It's fine. I'll see that stuff.
You didn't tell me what your most beautiful or historical.
Well, I mean, beautiful. Clearly, California's beautiful. I'm also a mountain person, so I love like that whole belt range we were talking about before.
Not in the new boots. She's not a mountain person.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I would say, obviously in the Northeast, we're very lucky because we have places like DC and Philadelphia and also New York that have like unbelievable historic.
You mean little things like where George Washington declared the presidency of the United States at Francis Tavern in downtown Manhattan?
Exactly. Where we go for cocktails often when you're back here.
So good.
It is so good. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. That
fireplaces
really,
and warmth.
It
and
excites
merriment.
me so much. I would say, though, something that really grew on me was Charleston, which is, I think, a beautiful city because of the historic houses. And just some of their background, because when I was down in the South a lot, I was learning a lot of things about these places that I had no idea that they were having a whole different experience like hundreds of years ago versus what I know over here. So that was really fascinating to me. And it's crazy because the last few times I went was in the summer, which is kind of insane because it's like walking in a sauna 24 hours a day.
Your skin looks great, though.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. I almost melted, but it was okay. But there's lots of beaches there. You got Kiowa Island, you got Folly Beach. I was there for 4th of July a few years ago, and it was pretty amazing in Folly Beach. They were flying like the American flag up and down in a helicopter.
Of course.
There was like a local like air base, and they were doing passes overhead, and I was at the beach. I'm like, what is this?
Call my friend Tracy. She works at Dunes Properties. They can rent you a nice place on Folly Beach.
Listen, I'm all over it. Well, I did stay at a hotel one time, but then I've done Airbnb ever since because you can get like a lot of beautiful properties there. I wouldn't say it's the same case all over the nation, but the big cities like that would usually always have great options.
Yeah, for sure.
So that would be my pick.
I already picked beautiful, but historical in New York is obviously amazing. I am going to be making a jaunt from Louisiana to New York and vice versa, and I want to stop in Montgomery.
Oh yeah.
Because my friends, we were all talking about it, and I was like, I feel like in this point of our adult lives, it's interesting to go back and look at. It's interesting to go back and look at like civil rights and where their movement started, and the fact that like it's crazy to think that Montgomery, Alabama, was where like a turning point was for history. So I'm kind of curious to see that. My friends were saying they just stopped when they were coming down for Thanksgiving, and they were saying it was really amazing, but it also was kind of like, you don't know what you're expecting. Like, there's not really like, there's like kind of a museum, kind of whatever. You can cross the bridge to Selma. Like, there's things you can do, but it's like, it's not a walking tour per se. You got to know your history and you got to know whatever. But
well, that's the route I wanted to do. It's funny because so in the spring I went north to south, and I ended up CU, and then you're going to be doing the opposite, coming back up. Yeah. We took different paths.
Coming up, I'm going to go Atlanta, Richmond, New York. But coming down, I'm going to do Charleston, Savannah, Montgomery, New Orleans.
Well, I know that you brought up Savannah before.
Yeah, and you know a lot about it.
I sure do. So again, it was like, traveling internationally a lot and having my family in Canada and doing road trips mainly north or like the west. The last couple of years, I really became obsessed with the South because I found myself making kind of generalizations that weren't
and you also
true.
like to get your nails done. I feel like that's
obviously,
very Southern.
Yes.
It's very Southern.
I do, and get hair did.
You get your hair did. Nails did.
I really started exploring more of the area, and also from New York, like there's a lot of easy flights straight into Charleston, straight into Nashville, all these places. I guess I never realized how close Savannah was. You've got Charleston to Savannah. You can either hop the train or drive. It's like under a couple hours. You got Beaufort in the middle there.
Yeah, which I would like to see that too. That seems like adorable.
It's quaint. It's really pretty. I think it was like on Travel Leisure, like best places to go last year or something. It's just like it's a nice place in the summer because it's very mellow.
Yeah.
It's also, when I did my road trip in the spring, it's gorgeous driving through like South Carolina and Georgia that time of year before it gets too hot.
I told you we're doing the Shag tour at some point.
Oh my God.
Grand Strand, Myrtle Beach.
Okay, Laura brought this up before, and Shag was a movie that I was obsessed with when I was younger. And nobody, unless they're exactly our age, nobody the hell is going to know what that is. Bridget Fonda.
Totally.
Oh
When it's like, why don't you tell your parents we didn't want to tour goddamn colonial homes? We want to go to the beach and meet boys and go to wild parties and dance.
Oh my God, that was
so
word
good.
for word. And that was like Myrtle Beach.
I know every word.
They were in Myrtle Beach. They were in... Were they in?
They're from... where were they from?
Somewhere very...
Spartanburg or something like that. Like, they're from like a real town that's in like inland. And they were going to Fort Sumter, this whole colonial home.
Oh, that's right. And they went to the party
My
town.
favorite part about that movie, and then we'll move on, I swear, is that when they finally like make the turn to go to Myrtle Beach instead of going to Fort Sumter, the one person yells, "Turn on the radio!" And I'm like, how long have you been driving without the radio on? And why weren't you allowed to listen to the radio when you're going to Fort Sumter?
Oh, exactly. That's a good point. It's a very good point. Well, it's not, though, it's never a bad thing to bring up movies, because I feel like movies and TV haven't formed when I was a kid. They made me, like, want to go see everything. Yeah. And I don't care how cliche something was, there's some small truths and some of that stuff, so you're like, I have to go. So for me, even now, before I go somewhere new, oftentimes I'll watch a movie that was set there for the hell of it. So with Savannah, oh my god, no offense, Liam Neeson. But I think that like Savannah, there was what was it, Midnight in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
So which, by the way, they promote the hell of down there, as you can imagine, all the gift shops. And it wasn't the greatest movie, but when I watched it again after, they really captured the essence of like life in the squares. And Savannah's interesting because where Charleston tends to be a little bit more cosmopolitan, like a little more fancy, Savannah is super relaxed. Best advice I ever had from somebody was like, go there with like, you're going to forget, just don't pay attention to time, have a drink in your hand, like don't, do it. And the best thing I ever did.
Twin Cities with New Orleans, so there's like a similarity.
Well, they call them, I went on a few tours as I do. I always do, if you go somewhere new, you should totally do like a fun tour, even if it seems cheesy, because you'll get a great, like, quick little overview. One tour guy said it was like the Three Sisters, and he was, depending on what city you go into, there will be a different order about who is the best or whatever. Because like New Orleans, Charleston, Savannah have this kind of rivalry, but they're totally different places. But Savannah's very mellow. I would stay at the Bryce Hotel, which is great, by the Kimpton. It's like, first time I went there, I flew in on July 4th, and there's a roadie policy where they'll pour drinks out if you're like in the old square. It's amazing. I was walking around with wine in a plastic cup. I watched the fireworks. It was like, I went on a haunted tours because Savannah's like apparently super haunted.
Listen, all the sisters are haunted. Don't think I don't know. There's like, living in New Orleans, you get like a text blast that Anne Rice got the rights back to the Vampire Diaries. Don't worry.
Well, every time I'm in New Orleans, what cracks me up are those signs that say not haunted when they're renting out places.
It's so funny. It's also funny too, just about the walking tours in all the different cities. Because now living in New Orleans, I have taken a couple of like the horse-drawn ones, but I haven't actually done any of the ghost ones. I would love to. But there's one in the Garden District that everyone laughs about because it's totally 100% made up. And friends that live in the area always laugh because like one day my buddy was going to get something out of his car and there was a tour stopped in front of his house, and then it was funny, they were talking about all the homicides and he was like, God, no one's ever died in my house. Like, this is like completely made up. They have like a tour of 50 people taking pictures of his house. He's like, no one died here.
Well, I mean, but I guess it's just like the story or the image or whatever.
I like the story. It doesn't matter.
But I like it. But yeah, Savannah. And then again, like we were talking about cities that we want to go to. Like you want to go to Savannah. I definitely still want to go to Chicago. That's still on the list.
You gotta go to Chicago when it's nice out.
I know. Something else we always talked about was
and Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that's actually on my list too. Yeah. But it's funny because you were saying you went to see Dolly Parton the other day. I was like
Pigeon Forge under fire now. We got to pray for their survival.
Well, she actually just announced something today where she's going to be, her and her foundation are going to be like giving the families $1,000 a month until they get back up on their feet. But the Smoky Mountains is something I've always wanted to see, and certainly Dollywood.
So beautiful.
Because why wouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a little again. But it's out of the way. It's like a tough.
It's not though. It's fine. It's not out of the way if you want to get there.
But you got to drive. I mean, like, there's not like anything super close. You have to be able to drive for a while.
If you flew into like Nashville, you could drive there. And if you flew into probably like Charlotte or something like that, you could drive there too. It's not that far from either. It's kind of like right on the border. I went to Pigeon Forge, but I never went to Dollywood. I would really like to do that. She has new cabins now in the new part of Dollywood.
She's got everything. She's
that are amazing.
Her companies the other day, and I was like, what the hell?
She also, so I saw her last night, so it's fresh in my mind. She listed off all these foundations that she started and why she started each one of them, and I was like literally getting like weepy-eyed. More weepy than I did during the Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls, oh my God. We were just on a tangent about that before this, but I'm sure that all of you have been seeing nonstop posts and like Refinery 29 posts and social media stuff on
I just want to be grandma. I want to live in Nantucket, stare at that ocean, have weird finance retiree guys bring me things.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of great. It was perfect. I don't know about the Stars Hollow situation, but the other one was Nantucket is the way to go. Yeah. Clearly. But Dolly Parton is funny because she's almost inspired me to travel a lot of times. I missed her. I want to see her at Red Rocks in Colorado, which is like the greatest outdoor amphitheater ever. But I was seriously researching like Deadwood. I think it's like in South Dakota or something.
Yeah.
She was playing at a festival there, and I just thought it would be so cool to see her somewhere so
my God. You know
off the
what? Chris Stapleton's playing Country Stampede this year, which is a crazy little country western festival in Manhattan, Kansas.
What?
Good times. I went one year to see Pistol Annie's, and they didn't end up performing, but Miranda Lambert did, and she's always fun to see. So
big performers are always at the Calgary Stampede.
What?
Yes.
Are we going to Canada?
We are. So sorry we're talking about America, but
that could be our next stop. It could be Canada.
It could be. I'm going to drop a few ideas in there for you. Montreal and Vancouver are like the two greatest cities, and they're right on the border, so there's no reason not to just cross over.
Amsterdam is a great town.
Yeah, Amsterdam is great. It's like the most beautiful place anywhere.
There's a Ferguson Park.
Is there really?
Yeah, in Stanley Park, there's a Ferguson Point in Stanley Park.
See, look, you know more about it than I do.
I have a picture of it.
And in Montreal,
spent a lot of time in Vancouver.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Yeah.
And Montreal is probably like in the summer for Jazz Fest. It's phenomenal. It's got some of the greatest food. I would put it up there with a top 2 food city for me. And it's just like it's phenomenal. No offense, skip to Toronto, go to Montreal.